from about age 4 or 5, she started getting into raw food, and I was 5 at the time, and so I just ate whatever she gave me. You know, I didn't question or think, oh, this is weird or anything like that. I was raised vegan from the start, so I had a good foundation. We ate mostly fruits and vegetables, and then it was kind of a seamless transition. I didn't really think of it as being this transition. She just gave us food and we ate it, and we didn't really know otherwise. My mother homeschooled my brother and I, so when I was 9 years old, I left school and we were homeschooled. We had a big, thriving homeschooling community, and so we were kind of around, not a lot of people in the homeschooling community were raw or anything. Some of them were vegetarian, I think a few of them were vegan, but they were all very health conscious and very respectful and supportive of what we were doing. So it was really easy to maintain this lifestyle while being social with our friends. And so I was mostly raw from age 5 until about 12, 13, and close to 100% raw, but sometimes we would go out to a friend's house and I would try something, or we would go to a vegan potluck and I would have some cooked food or something to eat. And then when I became 12 and 13, I was more exposed to the mainstream and what everyone else is eating. And I was like, ooh, I want to try all that stuff with all the colors and the flavors. And I was just very curious, really interested to try those foods that I really hadn't ever experienced before. And so at that point I started, eating candy, and I'd even hide it from my mom. I didn't want her to know. I'd put money in those vending machines and just eat candy with my friends behind the whatever. And as time went on, I just wanted to eat more and more of those foods because they were all just so new and different and tasted so good. And then when I became 16, I started to drive. I became even more independent, and I just really rejected a lot of what my mom had to say. I just did not want to hear it. I was like, life is short. I just want to eat pizza and ice cream with my friends and have a good time, and we would go to the drugstore and I would buy really toxic shampoos and makeup, and I just wanted to live that life and really did not want to hear what she had her advice for me, And so that kind of continued, and then when I was 18, I went to college, and then at that point I was really exposed to the mainstream. Okay, what are these kids eating when their parents are not influencing them at all? What are they doing when they're completely on their own? And they're, drinking alcohol until wee hours of the night, and then they're ordering pizza or Chinese food, and I partook in that. I was like, yeah, this is what we do. This is what me and my friends do, And before then, I had never, I got sick, when I started to eat a lot of that other food, but it wasn't that, I don't know, it wasn't enough to, catch my attention, really. But then when I was in college and I started drinking a lot and eating those foods, the next day, I would feel horrible. I would just feel so bad, and I remember my friends that I was with, because they were raised on a lot of those same foods, they didn't have that initial immediate reaction to it. I called my mom. I was like, Mom, how come when I eat those foods and I drink, the next day I get sick, and all my friends, they're able to do it and keep doing it, and they don't get sick right away? And she was just like, oh, I'm so glad that you get sick right away, or that you get a pimple right away. And it just shows that your body's still working. You still have an immediate reaction to those foods. And I'm just like, okay, Mom. And I had to go through that a lot to finally learn and truly see that, even though the people that were around me weren't getting immediately sick like I was and having to stop, that their energy was low, and that they weren't as motivated, and they were kind of sleeping really late, and they didn't look good anymore. Like, a lot of them gained a lot of weight, and as did I a little bit. I started breaking out on my face from eating so much dairy. I never ate meat. I've never eaten meat my whole life. It was not ever something that I was interested in. It just never really looked good to me. And so at that point, I really made the connection that you are what you eat. And that was huge for me, because it wasn't just, you know, because my mom said so. It was because I actually believed it, and because I felt that it was true. And so at that point, I became vegan again, and I brought a blender and I started making green smoothies in my dorm room, and people saw me changing, the people that were around me. I was getting up early in the morning, you know, like none of these people were getting up early. It was like after a night of drinking and pizza, like who wants to get up early? Nobody. And so I was getting up early, running my blender in the morning, and people started seeing. They were like, what are you, like, what are you doing, you know? And so I educated a lot of my friends. A lot of them have since become vegetarian, vegan, even raw.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing now?
Yeah, and so at that point I became vegan again and felt really passionate about it, and started getting more raw food into the school cafeteria, and just really got back into it because I love it. And I graduated from college, and at that point I drove out to Durango, Colorado, where I now live, and I work for an environmental nonprofit organization called Turtle Lake Refuge. And I highly recommend you guys all look us up. We have a YouTube channel called Turtle Lake Refuge, and our website is www.turtlelakerefuge.org. And we, like I said, we're an environmental nonprofit organization. We do all raw food, and we focus on wild edible food. So in my understanding, there's like vegetarian, there's vegan, there's raw, and then there's like wild food. And eating wild food is just so amazing. It's said that one leaf of dandelion is the equivalent to an entire bunch of cultivated kale in nutrients and vitamins and minerals. So this is huge, and so I'm just learning so much. There's a beautiful woman who started the organization. Her name's Katrina Blair, and she leads people on wild weed walks and teaches them about what are the plants that are outside right now that are growing at our feet, that are free and that are highly nutritious that we can eat. And it's really powerful stuff. You know, if the food truck stops showing up one day, like this is the information that we're gonna have to learn and gonna have to come back to, because our ancestors knew all the plants, and and so it's really important to keep this alive. And so I love working there. We also open 2 days a week. If any of you are ever in Durango, you should come stop by. We open Tuesdays and Fridays, and we serve an all raw lunch. It's a juice, soup, salad, entree, and dessert for a suggested donation of $10 to $15. And we have so many people coming in, volunteering. It's truly a refuge where people can come, hang out, help us, get involved. If you don't have any money, you can work for 2 hours and we'll serve you lunch. And we teach these wild weed walks. We also have a class called Living Soil Class, which is a year-long course that involves a lot of wild foraging and a lot of local teachers coming and teaching what their alternative practice is. And yeah, so I've been raw for 2 months now. I've been kind of on and off, but I'm always high raw, and so now I'm just feeling like, yay, 100%, feels really good. So yeah.